Bon Fry, legendary badass, not shy, telling you how it is, Bon Fry will die.
World War Z. This really shouldn't take very long because there's really not a whole lot going into this movie. You have Brad Pitt, $200+ million budget. My understanding is that the whole budget inflated up to something around $400 million because of delays, changes in the script, production woes. It's quite maligned production, this World War Z. I think they ended up firing a director. The one credited is Mark Forster, who, and again, I don't do research anymore because you guys shunned that. Didn't he direct Quantum of Solace? I believe so. And as I just got back from the movie with my dad, I started saying, I'm only going to see a movie if I have a friend in it. So I check out Hangover Part 3, go a long time without seeing nothing, and I get suckered back in because my dad wants to go see a movie. It was either this or Star Trek, and this is more news relevant. So, World War Z. This is not a movie as much as it is Brad Pitt going from action set piece to action set piece. He doesn't actually play a character in this movie. I think his name's Jerry. And it's just Brad Pitt with a wife and 2 daughters. They have like oh, Daddy, wasn't your old job dangerous? Oh yeah, something like that. I had no idea what the hell he did because throughout the movie he was just able to adapt to whatever the situation was. Oh yeah, I used to do some stuff for the UN. I was an investigator. Yeah, I can fly a plane. Can you get me a co-pilot? Oh yeah, I'm pretty much a doctor now. So he was like everything that the script needed him to be. It was all kind of a bunch of nonsense. And here's what happens. You have a movie that it's trying to do the aliens thing without setting up anything at all. And one of the first things they taught me in film school was that you gotta have the setup in order to have the most gratifying payoff. And what this movie tries to do is, it tries to give you crescendo event followed by crescendo event, payoff, payoff, payoff. And without that sweet build-up, there's very little to it, so it's quite shallow. Right out the gate, they're being chased by zombies. I mean, they're in their silver Volvo wagon. Everybody needs one of those. And then this car comes careening by, there's chaos. You don't get a good look at the zombies, and they seem to look like regular folks, just happen to be attacking other folks in animal-like fashion at first. So Brad Pitt and his crew, his family, go up into a building. They meet some immigrants. They don't want to move so much, but Brad Pitt's got a friend who, with the radio, he's like, yeah, get me an extraction up on this building, and they're able to do this. And in fighting these enemies and the crowds and everything, they find that they don't act like your typical zombie. Like they're kind of like like making these velociraptor sounds. So when I'm looking at the movie, I'm kind of thinking it's 28 days later with the fast moving zombies and the quick infection rate. It's like, oh, you're bit, you got 10 seconds, you're turning into one. You got that going for you, and then you also couple it with aliens with the way you're trying to mount all of this action into a non-stop roller coaster. But I also see some Jurassic Park and Finding Nemo, because once Brad Pitt gets up on top of that building, they get a helicopter over there, and they extract his whole family to a safe area on a boat. We're talking like a destroyer or an aircraft carrier. And then they're like, okay, well, we got this guy on the boat, and everybody really needs to earn their place over here because we don't got a lot of space. So earn the place for your family, Brad. You're going to go to South Korea with this hotshot Harvard doctor boy. And you're going to look at patient 0 and try to figure out some kind of answer to all this crap. And that doesn't work out so well. They get on a C-130 that magically took off from an aircraft carrier, I think. And then they go to South Korea, which resembled anything. It was pitch black the whole 5 minutes they were there. They just go inside, talk to some dudes. They're like, yeah, there was some Korean doctor thing. Part of the problem with the script, there's flashbacks that don't pertain to the main character. And Brad Pitt frequently, like, you see people listed high up on the credits, and it's like David Morse, and it's like, oh, David Morse is in one scene for 10 seconds. He's some crazy guy who pulled his teeth out saying, yeah, the North Koreans, they were able to stop it. They pulled all their teeth out, 24 million people. I'm like, okay, they don't have more people than that, but whatever. You got people who are listed in the credits, like, near the top. It's like Brad Pitt and then everybody else. But Brad Pitt is like, he's like 95% of the movie, and everybody else is, I mean, there's nobody else. That's why I'm looking at it like Finding Nemo. He's just going from point to point, meeting new friends, and they die. So he meets up with these guys. They end up not having too much merit in this South Korean thing. Plus, the doctor ended up killing himself because he didn't know how to use a gun. And then they head off to, let's see, I think they said they were next headed to Israel. They're going to Jerusalem because they built a giant wall around the whole place, like right before the infection. So he talks to some people there, and they're doing pretty good. And he's like, yeah, well, I was the guy who didn't believe in the zombie thing, but you know, it turned out to be such a rational thing, blah blah blah. They're throwing in this politics stuff, and then all of a sudden, some crazy bitch. Now this doesn't make any sense to me. They're letting people into the country still, into the city, and look, you got a giant ass wall. Say your wall's 100 feet up. And you let people in through the gates or whatever that the zombies are not able to smash for whatever reason. And then you hold them inside the city. You hold them for processing. You're inside the wall. How much more processing can you get? That's how they end up with this problem. This stupid bitch thinks it's karaoke day. She picks up a mic, starts singing blah 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 blah, some kind of Robbie Williams tune. And next thing you know, zombies hear this and they go jumping out over the wall. A few of them fall down and start infecting people left and right. I mean, it was real. This is when the action of the movie really starts to go to the next degree that you don't see in other zombie flicks. You think, oh, well, there's hundreds of zombies. And on originally seeing the trailer footage or the TV adverts, I was thinking, oh, come on, zombies don't move like liquid. They aren't army ants. That's ridiculous. But if a zombie has no concern for its own well-being, and there were thousands of them, 1 million, maybe they could spill over in the fashion scene in World War Z. So, I have to give it some props for the ambition with the zombies. Now, I didn't think it was so cool how they were able to daisy chain up the wall necessarily, but it's not like all of them made it over the wall. It's really a matter of infecting them once they got over the other side. And it all hell's breaking loose. This Israeli army chick is hanging out with Brad. He ends up cutting her hand off, and PG-13ification, folks. He goes for the hand with the knife. It's like hardly in frame, somewhere down here someplace. Slap, and then they're working on it. They end up getting onto an airplane, and he's working on this, and you can't see it. It's like, what are you really doing down there, Brad? Isn't she a little bit young for you? Way to go. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, it's a movie with 1 million damn zombies in it, and it's rated PG-13. They just don't even try to make movies the right way anymore, guys. They try to make products that people will watch. Not necessarily good movies. Those do not mean the same thing. So then we have what I assume was Lindelof's idea. David Lindelof of Prometheus ruining fame was brought on board. I assume that what he did was he said, "Oh well, we got to get zombies on that plane somehow that they took off on in the middle of the siege." And how do we do that? Oh yeah, blonde chick is going to hit the service elevator, and there'll be a zombie inside. Now look, these zombies, you got 10 seconds, you turn into a zombie once you get bit. So where did this come from? And don't tell me that they did like the Queen Alien in Aliens and jacked the landing gear, because the landing gear compartment is totally separate from the service elevator area. We know this because we've seen Commando. Thank you, Matrix. So, yeah, that goes down. And then they're able to, fend off the zombies as they're converting over through the rows by stacking up luggage and shit, and Israeli chick shoots a few of them, proving that she still has some skills. I guess her shooting hand still works. And then Brad Pitt grabs one of her grenades, and it's like, well, I guess I don't have a choice. Boom, throws it. Bam, plane getting sucked out, Fight Club style. They crash, and they're on their way to this WHO place, World Disease Organization thing, like CDC for the rest of the world. They're sort of on their way over there because Brad Pitt said, "Yeah, we got to head over to this place. I've got a theory about how the zombies are going after weak people or something. We can maybe do something about this. There's people who seem to be immune, because when the zombies siege the area, they just pass through these people like a river flowing over a rock or something like this." So the plane crashes, and Brad Pitt's mostly fine. Not in the face. He got a bit of a shrapnel thing in the side, but that's mostly forgotten about in a bit, because he ends up getting escorted by the Israeli chick, who also is the only person along with Brad Pitt to survive the plane crash. And at some point they even exchanged names. He said, "Hey, I'm Jerry," and she said, "I'm Singlet," or something. And then they have a short hike up to their disease place. He collapses. The doctors there fix him up and say, "Look, who are you?" And they're like, "Okay, get on the phone with the guy, the United Nations Secretary General, deputy dude, black guy who sent me over here." And they're like, "Okay, whatever." And it doesn't matter so much, because Brad Pitt's going on about this theory about how if he can, people can be made sick, then the zombies won't want them. The virus doesn't go after the weak. And I'm kind of thinking about this because the first guy they run into in South Korea, he's like limping. And I'm thinking, yeah, zombies are so discriminate that they go, that guy's limping a little bit. Yeah, we have plenty of time to observe our prey before we lunge on them. And if you got a limp, you're not good enough to get bit. And so maybe people have cancer or whatever, AIDS, and maybe they're not getting bit by zombies for that reason. But I do know that it's an outlandish idea to think that zombies can smell AIDS and shit, and then not want to bite into that. It's outlandish and almost as creative at the same time. So they go through this place and they run around it, and Brad Pitt seems to know the area damn well. Because like I said, whatever the situation is, he adapts. It's quite ridiculous. And then Brad Pitt's got the good stuff. He's in the vault, and the zombies are right there. There's one right in his face, and he's like, "Well, I'm going to have to inject myself with, I don't know, what did he give himself? Gonorrhea, I don't know." So, and then the zombie's like, "Oh, I don't want any of that." And then he walks right past them. He pops himself a Pepsi in a can that I'm not familiar with. And then he goes and gives the drugs to everybody else. Israeli chick is still alive and everything, and she puts on a hoodie, and they walk out the gate, and then in the very next shot, he's locking the gate, and she doesn't have the hoodie on. Not that important. And then it's like happy movie time. We defeated the zombies. We found our way. The zombies now ignore us. We're that awesome that the whole thing got wrapped up in one movie. But this isn't the end. You know, his kids even got deported to like Nova Scotia, where it's like, oh well, we thought Brad Pitt had died when that plane went down, but so we moved your family that you haven't seen in an hour and a half at best. So like you really give a shit about them, and they really were not in a danger situation. And usually with these zombie flicks, you get this small world. I live in a town and I'm trying to survive and meet new people and help them through the night. That's a zombie movie. I want to make sure my family's okay, so I'm headed home to save them. That's a zombie movie. So the ambitious scope here is something I haven't seen done in the zombie genre, but at the same time, the main goal of most zombie movies is achieved within something like 20 minutes of this movie. Family is on an aircraft carrier. Bam, end of movie. Imagine Die Hard if he was like, well, I killed all the German terrorist thieves at the 20-minute mark. Time to kill the rest of the Germans. Imagine that. So, yeah, very odd for a zombie movie to go this route. And there were some unintentional moments of laughter where people in the crowd were laughing at the way the zombies act. How they're squawking around and freak dancing. They're twerking. Doing a little Miley Cyrus. And, you know, I thought that it was weird too. Like, oh, that's a little funny. But at the same time, I commend it for not doing the Walking Dead thing, where all the zombies make the same sound. Over and over. I mean, come on, Shaq and Mini-Me would make the same sound as a zombie on The Walking Dead. It's not copying other zombie movies. It's strange at the same time. There's things that don't entirely add up, and even from a narrative perspective, it's really just jumping from spectacle to spectacle with Brad Pitt. So, World War Z, I give it 2.5 stars. You know, good job for doing what you did, and I doubt there's a sequel. Where else can this go? It's like one of those situations, once you find out that Neo is the one, you no longer have a movie, a story worth telling, right? So, that's that.
Do 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 do.